So good morning and welcome to the Revolver Resources Limited investor webinar. Revolver is an Australian exploration company focused on the development of copper for the world's accelerating electrification. Revolver's near-term focus is copper exploration in proven Australian jurisdictions, and the company has 100% of two copper projects, the Dianne project and Project Osprey. Today, I am joined by our Managing Director, Pat Williams, who'll be running through our presentation, which was lodged with the ASX this morning. To ask a question throughout the presentation, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. I'll now hand you over to Pat. Thanks very much, Jane. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. It's a double exciting day for me today. Firstly, the opportunity to meet and interact with some new or potentially new shareholders. And also, I think my daughter's having a baby today. So lots of things to be excited about and look forward to. But what I'd like to do today for you is take you on an introduction into the Revolver business. I'm not here to do a deep dive in terms of technology and technical things or talk about geological theories and concepts. It's really to introduce us, where we've come from, what we have as a business, and what we're planning to do in the next 6 months, 12 months, and 2 years from now. So no doubt, we're all here today because we understand the investment thesis on copper, and what we want to make the use of your time today for is to make it clear how we're addressing that opportunity, not to tell you about what copper's used for and all of those sorts of things, and what makes us different. So how we're addressing the copper thematic and what makes us different as a business. Right from the outset, I think it's important to know that we've got two outstanding projects, both with exceptional, potentially world-class potential. We've completed quite a significant amount of work on these projects over time. We have a known ore body, so we're starting with copper in the ground that we know of. We've drilled holes into it ourselves. We've achieved some 4% copper grades in early 2020, and we're about to continue on with developing and growing those projects up. We've raised enough capital to give us a 2-year runway, which is very important because we're coming into a busy time in the industry, and stopping to raise money to keep going, it loses us momentum. So we've worked these assets for a number of years. We didn't put the company together last year or the year before. We've built a business with two outstanding copper assets over a 5-year period, and we've brought them to the market to fast pace and supercharge what we're doing. So we're going to work both projects in parallel, concurrently, and it was important for us to raise enough money to give us a good runway so we don't have to stop, pause, come back to the market. So in terms of wrapping up where we're at right now at the start of the IPO journey, we've raised $12.7 million. That was done in a very quick, short-fire time, the help and assistance of a fantastic advisory team. And based on yesterday's closing share price, we nudged just a little over $100 million in terms of market cap. What's really important to understand, and I think it's one of the foundation testimonial points to our business, is we've got a lot of people who are locked away for a long time, 12 months to 2 years. Just over 64% of our register upon opening to trade is actually escrow. So there's a number of people, a number of serious long-term investors who are in for the journey on this business. So, it's not loosely put together. There's a significant body of, serious long-term thinking people, and looking forward to going on what we hope is quite an exciting forward journey. Revolver consists of two outstanding assets, and we've built these up over a number of years. Firstly, the Dianne project is located up in the North Queensland Minerals province. It has the reputation of being Australia's highest grade copper mine. For a brief period, it mined over 63,000 tonnes of direct shipped ore at an average grade in excess of 22%. It was never exhausted, and nothing deeper than 165 metres below surface has ever been drilled. So it's really been a very light touch, and we see tremendous upside in the potential for what remains.
Our second project is located in the renowned Northwest Minerals Province, Project Osprey. We've worked hard on this project for a number of years. Osprey is a Mount Isa style and IOCG copper target. We understand the approach to finding targets at depth, and we're ready to take advantage of the work that we've done to date. We're excited about the team that we've assembled on this journey. Myself, I'm a 35-year mining industry professional, worked variously at different stages through the life cycle and the continuum of resource projects. And I'm joined on the board by my colleagues Paul McKenna and Brian McDonald, both who add complementary skills and capabilities, and all particularly focused on the one common denominator is significant and outstanding shareholder growth. Let's take a little bit of a deeper dive onto the Dianne project. As I said before, Dianne is Australia's highest grade producing copper mine. It was discovered in the 70s using the tried and tested, let's kick a green rock because it pokes out of the ground technique. I joke about that, but I'll come back to it a little later on. From the late 70s to 1983, it produced over 63,000 tonnes of direct shipped ore at an average grade of 22.7%. It's just a remarkable deposit, and it's not finished. Mining ceased because of a commodity downturn. There was still ore at depth and ore laterally. So we have that to commence with, and we also are starting with Dianne, with 6 established mining leases and a very large surrounding exploration permit, all 100% owned by the company. So right from the outset, from today, from last week onwards, from completing the raise and starting the listing, Dianne's clearly our short-term early priority. Significant funds will be devoted to deploying at Dianne to both establish a JORC resource and explore and look for increases in the resource base. We're really buoyed by what we've seen so far at Dianne. So it's not about just inheriting a historic kind of discontinued copper operation. We drilled ourselves in early 2020. We on the periphery of the deposit, where it was easier to access in the season that we were there. We put some 120 metre deep holes down, and we came across significant intersects of 4% copper. So really buoyed by that. It confirmed what we understood to have existed, and it gives us a very good calibration for a large body of historical information that does exist at Dianne. In terms of the region that Dianne's located, the North Queensland Minerals Province is a known region of very high-grade polymetallic mineralisation. The region hosts some world-class deposits, Mount Carbine, Mount Malloy, just to name a few. What's characteristic across this entire region is a lack of any recent modern systematic exploration. It's kind of, strictly speaking, it's been off the radar. So as I jokingly said before, Dianne was discovered because there was an outcrop of malachite stained rock. The green rocks poked out of the ground. It drew people to it. They explored around it, and one thing led to another, and there's some very close to surface high-grade copper mineralisation, and it was exploited from there. Other than that, there has been a complete lack of systematic modern exploration techniques. Not just around the ore body itself. You can see in the background photographic image on the screen, that's the current, as today, lay of the land in terms of the mined out region. But surrounding the mining, the old mine itself, and even throughout the more extensive exploration acreage, there's been a complete lack of systematic exploration undertaken. And herein lies the tremendous opportunity for us that, we've got a range of programs planned, both focusing in on the deposit and in the surrounding acreage to really run to ground what exists. Because the definition they use is, what Dianne is it's not a unicorn. Where there's one, there's more. But because it wasn't easily found or detected, the country up there is a little bit tough and challenging. So it's not easy to explore, but we've certainly got the focus, the funding, the wherewithal, and the work program designed to actually head into this and give it a significant good look. There's a lot of historical information that exists at Dianne. The image on the left shows, with the black circles, shows quite a body of historical drilling that's been undertaken. So we have information. It's dated, it's old. It was before the JORC standards were invented. So not a lot of it, unfortunately, has been able to be brought into the modern day understanding and disclosure. We're doing a little bit more work on that to see if we can enliven some of that historical data. But really, it's given us a good starting point knowledge. So on the right-hand side of the screen, we see two images that characterise the definition of the ore body and what's there. And we have zones of significantly high mineralisation. As you can see on the top right, they continue at depth. The mining never got down to those depths, and certainly there's no drill holes that have gone even deeper to determine that. So the image on the bottom right shows us more of the zones of mineralisation, and all of that's still in the ground. None of what's in the image on the bottom right-hand side has been removed. So we know that it's all there, but we need to systematically go about to quantify, categorise. We need to understand the metallurgy. That was a little bit lightly done because the ore back in the 70s and 80s was a direct shipped ore variety. That means it wasn't processed on site, wasn't even processed in Australia. It was trucked to the coast and shipped to Japan. So there's a little bit of a lack of understanding of the metallurgy of the ore. So there's some work right now and continuing on that we need to do to broaden our understanding. And that will also help guide the future exploration once we get more of an understanding of what has never really been known about this Dianne deposit. So a quick image here before we transition on. And again, we put this on the screen to help people understand what really are some of the unique aspects of this Hodgkinson province. So what we see here is firstly, it's a very small scale. So unlike a lot of other larger scale mineral deposits that are expansive but very low grade, Dianne's an extremely high grade deposit, very compact and very close to the surface. So they're all compelling attributes that add to a quicker turnaround to production potential and lower operating costs in the environment where we move forward with the production scenario. And the red lines on there are obviously drill hole traces that need to be done to re-establish and reconfirm the JORC deposit. So with Dianne, we've got a number of parallel pathways to generate value. So we need to drill and define as a JORC resource what we know to exist. We need to extend the ore body, both laterally and at depth. And then we need to cover the remaining 120 square kilometres of the mining leases and the surrounding acreage with a systematic exploration program, because as we said before, where there's one of these, there's typically more, but they didn't present themselves to surface, they'll be a little bit harder to find. So we just need to put the work in to go and find those. But it's an excellent starting position. We have copper and we're building on top of that as we go forward. The funding that we've raised gives us a good 2-year runway. And now that's loaded with multiple concurrent work programs. There's hardly a quarter in a calendar year where we won't be on site doing work. So that will lead to a steady news flow, constant regular updates. We're looking forward to both determining and understanding ourselves and sharing that information with the market and our shareholder database. Dianne's an excellent copper project. It's been isolated and inactive for a very long time. and it contains outstanding potential that we're really on the verge of unlocking and taking forward. Turning our focus now to Project Osprey. Again, reiterating, at Osprey, we're zeroing in on large-scale Mount Isa-style or IOCG targets in the Northwest Minerals Province. So in terms of a postcode, you just don't get better land than what's associated with Project Osprey. The region is host to a number of large-scale, globally renowned mineral deposits. And the region is also host to a full suite of base metal mineralisation. So we're in the right postcode. What's different about Project Osprey? Again, like the exploration thematic at Dianne, the easy stuff's gone, okay? It's been discovered, it's been exploited, it's in operation now. So the important challenge to undertake, which we commenced on Project Osprey late 2015 and early 2016 in earnest. So we've been working these projects systematically and methodically for quite some time because we understood that the shallow and easy to access and easy to discover deposits have been found. So people need to apply and develop the techniques and the approaches to looking for deposits undercover. So the regional map here gives just a quick smattering of known nearby noteworthy deposits. The vast majority are in decline. So clearly it compounds the momentum and the urgency for new discoveries. So the type of mineralisation we're searching for has 4 hallmark characteristics. The first is the right type of basement rock. You've got to be in the right sort of material to start with. You need significant faulting to allow fluids to flow, to transport and mobilise the mineralisation. You need evidence of alteration from the passage of those fluids. And finally, the 4th attribute is you need the appropriate structure for the deposition of leached copper. So 4 hallmark characteristics typify the types of deposits we're looking for. And what we're very confidently able to say is that the work we've done over a 5-year period has proven the existence of all 4 of those. So we've ticked all 4 boxes. Now we're systematically zeroing in on the targets that we've identified. They are at depth and they are a little difficult. So we need to pioneer the methods and techniques to find these deposits at depth. So our project area certainly has attracted the interest of many people over the last 25 to 30 years. There were easier targets back then, so many didn't persist. But perhaps in terms of the chronology of previous holders, BHP and WMC made the most substantial inroads, but for a variety of corporate political reasons, they dropped the acreage. There's no technical reason. What we understand at the time, they were quite positive and very pragmatic about the Osprey project land package, but corporate decisions made them change their mind and move on. So essentially from then, both us working with the XDM group and then in our own right as Revolver, we've been the custodians of this ground ever since and systematically worked it and developed it and understood how to refine those techniques for looking for targets at depth. So the first thing we need to understand, again, is a slight difference or a deviation from our land package at Dianne is we've got a very large land area with Project Osprey, over 760 square kilometres. So it's very important there to work up the techniques and develop targets systematically rather than try to cover such a large area. It's important for us to keep that land because we see it's all got very high potential, but we need to refine the techniques. So what we've presented here on the screen is really just a quick chronology of the systematic, methodical approach we've taken to zero in on how to make sure that we're focusing on the right targets. I won't do the deep dive in all of the programs right now, but significant work over a large number of years, all funded by ourselves, and all we believe to be quite unique in terms of a pioneering approach to looking for very large targets at depth or undercover. So what we've done here is just, again, for the purposes of, so we're in the 760 square kilometre land package, we've zeroed in on probably, 15 or 20 square kilometres here, just down to one of the higher priority shorter term targets. So we've deployed a number of concurrent activities at once here. So the ground-based gravity mag, IP, we've chosen to duplicate another electrical survey with an EM survey over the top of the IP region. We've previously drilled holes close by, and that's all vectoring us towards. And in those drill holes, we've got ourselves some really quite noteworthy copper mineralisation. So we're finding copper mineralisation at depth, certainly not economic, and it's not, a mineable entity at the moment, but we're zeroing in on that target. And it's very important for us to keep going because we feel that we're very close. And we've got the benefit of capitalising on many years of unique and innovative work to get ourselves to look, and just to put into context, when I say we're looking for targets at depth and undercover, we've got a minimum of 50 metres of black soil, and then our targets are down in the 300 to 400 metre depth below ground level zone. So they naturally need to be large to be economic at that depth, but they're not easy to find. So herein lies the opportunity, and our transition from private company to public is coincident with a number of things. I said before, it's a busy time in the market, and we want a good runway of funded cash flow. But it's also an important time because we've done what we believe is a significant amount of work on both projects, and we're bringing them to the market to take them to the next stage. So we do think it's an important inflection point that capitalises on what one of the uniquenesses with our business is, and that's that we know our projects. We know what we've done. It's all led us to the point we are today. We know what that's going to guide us to do going forward, and we're looking forward to doing it. So again, with Osprey, you can't have two priority number ones. And as we said before, a significant amount of the funding that we've raised will be allocated to the Dianne project. But non-trivially, there are significant amounts of work with Osprey. The images that we see here on the bottom of the screen are all evidence of copper mineralisation that's come from our project. In the drill core, on our project, we've assessed and determined that we are obtaining good sniffs of copper mineralisation in significant quantities, and we just need to build on that going forward. So again, steady news flow, not as prolific as we will be seeing with Dianne, but a constant systematic stepping forward to build on the information that we've already obtained and to develop those targets and ideally, bring some fairly exciting announcements in the not too distant future. So again, that takes us to the end of a bit of an intro on both of the projects. What I'd like to just talk about briefly now is the pathway forward. So we are not in business just to poke holes in the ground. Okay, that's not our business model. Okay, we're the board and the company's history so far is really about addressing the copper opportunity. So the capability on the board, the capability in the business to find, define, quantify, and bring to a production potential, that's all on the continuum of our focus and the capability of the business. Now, what's changing that we need to be mindful of and take the opportunity of is, once upon a time with commodity prices and the industry the way it was, most reasonable sized deposits built their own infrastructure. That's not the case anymore. With a surging copper price, and again, I'm not going to buy into where I think it's at and where I think it will head to, but it's at a new level that the price of the commodity lends the exploitation of the minerals to more of a hub and spoke model. So what that really means is that not every deposit needs its own processing infrastructure. So at both locations, with Project Osprey and the Dianne project, we'll be looking at assessing and making considered strategic decisions on the regional processing capability and at the right point in time, capitalising on what may be the most astute thing to do, because not every operation these days needs to fund its own infrastructure. It's capitally not efficient, and the commodity costs and the nature of these deposits will lend themselves in both locations. There's surplus infrastructure already, and unless new discoveries come online in the Mount Isa block, there'll be increasing capability over time to process the brought in mineral commodities. So that's our model. We certainly won't be looking to fund and build significant infrastructure, but that's very much the way we see the commercialisation of these ore bodies going forward. So in terms of our funding, we've raised enough that's really going to give us a good 2-year runway. Now, the vast majority of that information, funds raised, is focused into the ground. Okay, we haven't had any transaction costs, we haven't had any acquisition costs for assets, there's no money off the table. So we raise money to put it into the business, to put it into the ground. Keep a very low overhead, a very low admin cost, because we get value for money out of what we do on our projects. So unless we see some exceptional upside, which, of course, we all hope for, we don't need to be coming back to raise, in the next 2 years. So it's a busy time in the industry, as I said before. So we want to deploy our funds to have the confidence and the certainty to commit to the right people to help us do the work as we go forward. We're a small business. There's no denying that. So we need to make a heavy reliance upon the community of service providers, both consultants and contractors, and having the funds gives us the confidence and the certainty to commit so we don't miss out on the right resources. So bringing those two news flow slides together, what we really see is a constant pathway of regular updates. So we're not about taking one step, sit back, scratch our head, see what it means, and then we'll think about what next. We know the work programs that we need on our projects, and our whole approach is to roll through them systematically. Yeah, we have to adjust and accommodate what we find, but certainly we know the order, we know the sequence, we know the work, and we're certainly looking forward to sharing that information and sharing. I think it's easier in a written context than having someone stand here and talk to you, a deeper technical explanation to give the confidence on the robustness of what we're doing, what we're finding, what we have, and how we're taking it forward from here. So we've been through the listing, don't need to talk about that, we're over and done with. I would just say the time taken, we've been very pleased and we appreciate the time and effort and assistance that our complete advisory support system gave to us. So from the time we pushed the button to develop the prospectus, I think it was just a little under 3 months, prospectus lodged and trading last week. So glad it's done. It was a quick, efficient, sensible process that also allowed us to get on with running the business. We're a going concern. We were still doing work programs in the business, and that was an excellent execution. And we look on all of those providers with quite some appreciation for the education and help they gave us. So look, I'll wrap it up just before we get into the Q&A right now and bring it to a head. In summary, we're really excited about what the next few years holds for us at Revolver. We've got 2 world-class copper projects. We've got copper grades exceeding 4%. We know we have an ore body. Clearly, we're in an operation that's had some of the highest grades of copper ever seen in Australian mining history. We've invested heavily into these projects in recent years, and we believe we're on the cusp of significant growth in value for our shareholders. There's a tremendous upside potential in both of the projects. And given that, like we said, particularly with Dianne, there's no systematic modern exploration been conducted or deeper drilling deeper than 165 metres, we're really excited about getting out and exploiting that as soon and as quickly as possible. And we've built what we believe is a very well-credentialed team to steward this business through the different stages of growth. We don't expect, as I said before, we're not built to sit here and just cycle around drilling holes in the ground. We are here to build a business of substance to address the copper opportunity and bring that forward in the shortest, most efficient and effective timeframe possible. So, Jane, I might hand back over to you now. And
I think we actually answered majority of the questions through that presentation, which was good. If there are any other further questions that have come through, please feel free to email them via the contact details on the bottom of the website. I would encourage you to read through today's presentation as well if you get a chance. And yes, I think thanks for the presentation, Pat.
Great. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, everybody.